Canucks captain Quinn Hughes speaks out about who he wants management to acquire at the deadline, as well as is Sean Monhana the missing piece for this Canucks organization. We'll break all this down for you coming up on this episode of Hattrick HQ. But before we get into it, just want to say we're on the road for 3,000 subscribers here on the channel. So if you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure to go down below, hit that subscribe button, join along the journey with us. We'd love to have you along the road with us. But with that said, let's get right into the first topic of the video today, which is Quinn Hughes wants Tanev. And as we take a look here, this was put out by a Canucks reporter with an interview. He said, Chris Tanev is an interesting one for me. The tremendous respect for Tanev in the Vancouver organization, top to bottom. Everybody loves this guy. You know, Quinn Hughes loves him. Quinn Hughes has gone to bat for him this year, and told management Tanev is the guy you should target. And they also say here that the Vancouver would be at the top of his list if Tanev becomes a free agent after this season. Now 34, the right shot defenseman is in the final year of his four-year deal at 4-year, $18 million contract. He signed back in 2020. In 44 games this season, Tanev leads the Flames in block shots with 128 and is averaging 19-28 of ice time. And like they alluded to here, this contract was signed by Brad Treliving back when he was in the Calgary organization. And now, as you can see, in the final year of this deal at an AAV of $4.5 million. As we take a look at Chris Tanev's stats so far of this season, through 44 games, he has nine points. But the thing to look at here for Chris Tanev is the block shots. He has 128 in 44 games. Just last year, he had 130 in 65 games. So he's shattering his block total here this year from last year. And Mark, we've talked about Chris Tanev a lot here on the channel. I mean, he's a great stay-at-home defenseman. And if your captain wants this guy so bad, you might have to go out and acquire him.
Yeah, he was a former Vancouver Canuck. Everyone in the organization loved him. And as you can see, they still do love him. And I think bringing in a guy like this would definitely be, honestly, the perfect fit. The big thing you look at right now is, though, they have so many people on defense. I mean, their top pairing is Hughes and Hronek, which has been outstanding. Then you have the giraffe pairing in Zadorov and Myers. And then you kind of have a mix of Susie, who is currently injured, but then you have Juleson on the right side and Ian Cole on the left. So once Susie's back and if you do acquire like Tanev, then it kind of gets tricky on where you play people. But we've seen a lot of time in Calgary itself that Zadorov and Tanev were a pairing, and they were quite a good pairing. They looked outstanding together. They're big bodies. They can throw around in front of the net. They'll throw it on the boards. They'll do everything they can to win you a game. So I think going out, acquiring a guy like Tanev, Tanev's a guy that wants to be in Vancouver. As you can see, that he was welcome to coming in free agency this offseason. So I think you could go out, you can get him. He might take a hometown discount for this team, finish his career in Vancouver. And honestly, if you kind of go Sidorov, Tanev, and then maybe Susie and Myers, we've seen Susie and Myers work to start the year before, a bit of injury concerns between Susie. But if you had this as a third pairing, I think this is one of the league's best. And with the Canucks firepower and everything that's looking outstanding, I think just kind of adding to this defense, making one of the league's best defense will only help them in the run.
Yeah, the only thing that concerns me here, Mark, is how hot of a name Chris Tanev is going to be come deadline time. I think there's going to be a lot of teams after this guy ready looking to get him at the deadline. And if a team offers Calgary, a better deal than what Vancouver can offer at the time, maybe he goes a different way. But, like you see here, maybe if one team, say like the Toronto Maple Leafs or a team like this, maybe take him on as a rental for the rest of the year and then let him go to free agency. Maybe, he comes to Vancouver in the offseason via free agency. But I really do think, like you said, I think this guy's a great fit here on this team. He's a great stay-at-home defenseman. He's a guy you need in a 7-game playoff series. He's a guy who's going to put it all on the line. He's going to go to battle for you every night. And it's just be great to see him land here in Vancouver.
Yeah, that's the big thing. Like you said, this is a guy that everyone's going to be after. We've seen the Devils show a bit of interest. The Oilers might show some interest. The Leafs have shown a lot of interest. They were shown interest in both Zadorov and Tanev. The Canucks did take a swing. They did get Zadorov. So they're familiar with the new management in Calgary. So this might be the situation where they look back and they say, hey, we took on a guy like Zadorov. We made a deal work. Let's get another one. Let's get Tanev. Let's get his deep pairing in. And this is the situation. I don't think he'll be a rental. I know the management doesn't want to add a lot of salary since they do have still sign Pedersen. But if you bring a guy like Tanev in, like I said, if he wants to be there and you can get him in a hometown discount, that's even better. You get a guy who you can sign for 3 or 4 years and just use him for this time as just a guy that can compete and go on runs. You do have a guy like Quinn Hughes, Hronek here, and you could add Zadorov and Tanev as just kind of solidify that top four on that team.
Yeah, I really do think that the Canucks here need to get this PD extension out of the way here so they can know what they're working with for next season and see who they can go out and acquire at the deadline. Because right now they're probably going to be looking at expiring guys so that, if he's not signed come trade deadline, then hey, if we don't have the money next year, then we don't have it. We're just going to let him go in free agency. But it'll be really interesting to see what happens here with Chris Tanev. And like I said, if the Canucks captain wants this guy, he's familiar with the area, he's familiar with being a Vancouver Canucks. So maybe you bring this guy in on your playoff run and look to be Stanley Cup contenders. But let us know down below in the comment section, what do you think about Chris Tanev potentially landing in Vancouver? But we're going to get into the second topic of the video here, and that is Monahan is the missing piece. And as we take a look here, this was from Frank Ceravelli on Twitter earlier. He said, when it's all said and done, the Habs should end up with 2 first-round picks for Sean Monhana, one to take him from the Flames, and another one back for his play now. And a team that is looking that could be interested in Sean Monhana is the Vancouver Canucks. They're on the prowl for a top 6 forward, but a complimentary center would make a ton of sense. And we see here just about Sean Monahan's play so far this season. He ranks 38th in all NHL forwards in completed passes at even strength. He's the 7th highest face-off percentage with 5th among left shooting centers. He's the best at winning draws on the penalty kill at 55.9% among centers with at least 600 face-offs taken. Even though the Canadiens' power play has been up and down, Monahan can play the bumper position or act as a net front presence on a second unit. According, to NHL Edge, Monahan is in the 95th percentile in high danger shots on goal this season. And obviously, defensively, Monahan's intelligence gives him the ability to anticipate well and get a head start, which helps him make up for a lack of foot speed and back checking, properly angling puck carriers, and supporting his defensemen. He is particularly strong inside of the dots in his own end, ranking 13th in stick checks that have created loose pucks. And we look at a comparable trade here, Mark, that happened just a couple years ago. It was Andrew Copp and a 6th-round pick for, a 1st-round pick and a couple of picks there and a prospect for a guy like Andrew Copp. This is what a trade you might see like for Sean Monhana if the Vancouver Canucks do go after this guy. And obviously the biggest thing here is his cap hit. He's only on a $2 million deal. This is a steal for a guy like this. And so far this season, he has 31 points in 47 games for a little bit of a lackluster Montreal Canadiens team. And like they say here, his defensive stats speak for himself. 24 blocks, 9 hits, and he's averaging 55.8 from the faceoff dot here this season. And Mark, obviously, I know that's a lot to take in here, but I mean, Sean Monhana, I think, is the missing piece for this organization. He'd be a great number 2C behind Elias Pettersson, and I really do think they take a stab at this guy come trade deadline if they like the position they're in going into the Stanley Cup playoffs. Come March 8th. Maybe they give up their 1st-round pick for this upcoming draft, ship it Montreal's way to get this Sean Monhana in for their playoff run.
Yeah, the Canucks are really looking at a second line center. I mean, right now, JT Miller is anchoring down the top line. I know Pedersen can play a bit of center as well. But then you look at the third line, the Lotto line's outstanding. You don't break this up at any cost. So bringing in a guy like Sean Monhana would be, and this sounds weird when I say a cheaper option, but would be a cheaper option than going out and maybe acquiring a guy like Jake Gensel to fill out a wing instead. So I think they're going to be actively looking at centers. If Sean Monhana costs a first, a second, and a prospect, I can't see the Canucks biting on this. I know there's going to be a lot of teams that might go for it, but I think they might go for maybe a cheaper option, a guy that can fill out that second line. Maybe someone, I know Monahan has been healthy this year and he has looked great, but there is a bit of injury concerns as well. So maybe the Canucks look for a cheaper option. If they don't, and they can snag Monahan for maybe a conditional first or a late first, which it will be if it's this year and the Canucks are looking like they are come playoff time. But I think they're going to actively look at adding a center and a right-handed defenseman. If they can come out without clearing out the prospect pool for a guy like Monahan and Tanev, I think they're in a great situation. You make this big run, you build on it, you get Petey signed next season. You still have young guys that are coming through the system like Lekkerimaki. You have guys like D. Petey, Elias Pettersson, but the defenseman, which I always say. But you have these guys that are working their way from overseas to come over to this team. So as long as you keep these guys and you're only moving out picks of players you haven't drafted, it's kind of a coin flip. You could draft a guy that's complete bust. I mean, Canucks fans have seen it before. So you could draft a guy that's a complete bust, or you can trade this pick and get a sure thing to make you and just kind of push for that playoffs.
Yeah, and the thing is here, for bringing in both of these guys, you're only looking at $6.5 million straight up, which isn't a bad price for both of these guys. Like, I think Monahan right now is a little bit of a cheaper option than Elias Lindholm come trade deadline. Like you said, you can get him for a late first, bring him in for this playoff run, and he's gonna win draws for you. You can put him out, you can trust him in crucial times of the game to go out there and win a face-off. And I really do think that they look at this guy because I think he's on pace to get more points than Elias Lindholm, and he's going to be cheaper come trade deadline via trade. So I think you see the Canucks look at both of these guys this trade deadline, at least send an offer in and see what they can get. And it'll be interesting to see what happens here in Vancouver because I don't think they need to tweak much. I mean, they're on a hot streak right now. They're playing phenomenal. They don't need to tweak too much within their lineup. But if they do, they'll be even more successful, and they're just gearing themselves up to be playoff contenders again this year.
Yeah, that's the big thing. The Canucks' ultimate pitcher is to go for a Stanley Cup. That sounds crazy. Every team wants to do that as soon as puck drops on day one. But the big thing with this Canucks team, this is a special year for them. They're dominating forces. They're one of the best teams in the NHL. And just adding players, management has said they want to reward how their players are playing. So if you can go get a guy like Sean Monhana and Chris Tanev, if you don't have to just kind of liquidate all your assets right now to bring in guys like this, you definitely go for it. I know Tanev was 4.5, Monahan's 2 million. The nice thing is the farther you get along in the season, the less the cap hit is. So you're not taking on the full 2 and 4.5. So you're not taking a full 6.5 back. So the Canucks can work this out. I know Kuzmenko has been in a flurry of rumors. So maybe this is a guy that's going the other way in one of these trades. Maybe the Canadians take a swing on a guy like this. Maybe he turns things around. You flip him again. We've seen this happen with Sean Monaghan. Or maybe the Calgary Flames just kind of take a guy like this in a Tanev trade, use him to kind of help reassure their quick retool. They can use this guy this season, next season. Who really knows? It's going to be a wild couple weeks, and I think the Canucks are going to be active buyers for sure.
Yeah, definitely. We reported here on the channel previously that they're looking to potentially add some muscle for this upcoming trade deadline to gear themselves up, and I think these are two great potential suitors that we could see land. But let us know down in the comment section below, what do you think about a potential Sean Monahan or Chris Tanev trade to Vancouver? Let us know down below in the comment section. But we're going to get into everybody's favorite topic here, and that is comment of the day. And the comment of the day today goes to Health Wealth. What a name. He says Lindholm for Hoglander and a second-tier prospect. Legit second-line center to play with Kuzi and Mikheyev. Keeps a lot of line intact, and we have best third line in the league with Bluger, Joshua, and Garland. Go Nucks. And this is another option that, they could look at here. But like I said, I think Monahan, you're getting the same type of player here for a little bit cheaper in a trade. And I think this is more of a route they'll go. You don't want to give up too many prospects because these guys are the future of your organization. You never want to be left without a future. So, once, those years end, you don't want to be put out, in the sand or whatever, I guess you could say, with nobody there. And I really do think that they go after Monahan instead of Lindholm, but let me know what you think below in the comment section. But if you enjoyed this video, make sure to go down below, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We're on the road for 3,000 subscribers, so I really appreciate it if you went down and hit that subscribe button. If you enjoyed the NHL, make sure to check out this video. It's popping up on your screen right now. And as always, I've been your host, KC, alongside my co-host, Mark Pye. Keep your stick on the ice.